All right. This is another set of some problems that came out of the third 9 weeks benchmark test that we took at Armstrong. This is number 23. It says, which of the following fractions could represent the probability of an event occurring? So probability, you have to know what probability is. Probability is it's if you're representing it as a fraction, that's a ratio of the number of ways your event could happen out of the total number of ways that things could happen. And so by nature of that, it's always going to be a proper fraction. Or 0 or 1. So if it's a fraction, it's got to be a proper fraction. It's got to be between 0 and 1. Because either something could never happen, and there are 0 ways for that to happen out of all the possible ways. So 0 is the lowest number you can get. And 1, because I guess something could happen every single time. And if it happens every single time, that number of times is going to be equal to the number you put in the bottom, and then you're going to have like 5 over 5 or 11 over 11 or 12 over 12 or something like that. It's going to equal 1. For example, if you roll a die, there are 6 outcomes on a regular die or a number cube. You have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I could say, well, how many ways could I roll a 7 just with one roll? And there's no 7 on that. You're not going to get a 7, so that'd be a 0 out of 6, which is 0. Anything else that could happen, let's say, what's the chance of rolling a 1? Well, there's 1, 1. That'd be 1 out of 6. That's a proper fraction. That's between 0 and 1. What about the chance of rolling a factor of 60? 1 is a factor of 60. 2 is a factor of 60. 3 is a factor of 60. 4 is a factor of 60. 5 is a factor of 60. And 6 is a factor of 60. There are 6 numbers on that number cube. So it would be 6 out of 6, and that's equal to 1. So let's look at our options. We've got a negative number. Cannot be a negative number. That's a proper fraction. It could be that guy. 6 out of 5. Ooh, that's not a proper fraction. That's an improper fraction. 6 over 5 is greater than 1. It's not between 0 and 1. That will not work. And 5 and 1/11, that's way more than 1. That's not going to ever be a probability. So it's B. Look at number 36. John, Kenyatta, and Lewis went jogging around a track. John jogged 3/5 of a mile, Kenyatta jogged 1/4 of a mile, and Lewis jogged 1/3 of a mile. Which two statements are true? So we're doing some comparisons, like John jogged farther than Kenyatta, John jogged farther than Kenyatta. Ooh, only one of those could be true. Everything's the same except the number. John and Lewis jogged a combined distance, so you'd have to add for that. John and Lewis jogged a combined distance of that. Oh, hey, only one of those guys could be true. Kenyatta and Lewis jogged a combined distance of 2/7 of a mile. I know why that one's in there. All right, so let's take a look. We're going to compare John to Kenyatta, 3/5 of a mile to 1/4 of a mile. So 3/5 minus 1/4. All right. I'm going to want to have the same denominators for this. And so it might be a good idea to change them all to be the same denominators. A 1/5, a 1/4, and a 1/3. Well, I'm not going to be able to do that. All right, well, let's just make these guys because I need them for this comparison here. If we compare John to Kenyatta. All right, 5ths and 4ths. 5 and 4, the next common multiple is 20ths. And if you don't know, you can always just multiply this one by 4 and this one by 5. Because that way, even if you have to simplify it later, it'll be there. All right, so if I'm going to have 20ths, 5 times 4, I'm going to have to do 3 times 4 as well. I have to have this equal to 1, 4 over 4. Otherwise, I change the value of this guy, this fraction. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20. All right, to get 4 to turn into 20, I'm going to have to times by 5. I have to do the same thing over here. 5 over 5 is 1, so it's not going to change the value. It's just going to change what it looks like. 1 times 5 is 5. 4 times 5 is 20. 12 minus 5 is 7/20. And I cannot simplify that, but that's B. So obviously that one's wrong because it can't be. The 2/6 is not the same as 7/20. Okay. So let's talk John and Lewis. Let's add John and Lewis together because I have two different options for John and Lewis. That means maybe one of them's true. So John was 3/5 and Lewis is 1/3. And they've got this number 4/8 here because I think, well, what if I just do 3 plus 1, that's 4, 5 plus 3, that's 8. That nearly never ever works, so I can tell by looking at it that's not right. But let's make sure this one is right, because if I'm just ruling something out and then saying that must be true, well, I still have this other one I could check for Kenyatta and Lewis. Okay, 5 and 3, closest common denominator they're going to have is 15. So let's multiply by 3/3 over here, because 3 over 3 is 1. That makes 9 out of 15. I'm going to draw a line here so you don't get confused. And then 3 times 5, 1 times 5, because 5/5 is 1. And you'll get 5/15. 9 plus 5 is 14/15. And that does match letter D there. Out of curiosity, Kenyatta and Lewis, 1/4 plus 1/3. 4 and 3, it's going to have to be 12ths, times 4 times 4, this is times 3 times 3, so it'll be 3 12ths plus 4 12ths, that's 7 12ths. But look what they did 2 7ths, which is when you do 1 plus 1 and 4 plus 3, which is not how you do it, so it's not that guy. That's not it. Looks like this chart's going to have to go with the next page, so let's see what they're actually asking about, because sometimes they'll give you a passage to read and to look at, and then it says a table. There's a table as well. So let's see what the question is and then look back at what we've got. So this question is about trucks and trailers. The statements below refer to trucks and trailers. Drag each statement to the left to show if it's true or false. Okay. The ordered pair 0, 0 represents no cost for no days of truck rental. Well, that's something on the graph. Let's take a look at that one. Point 0, 0. There's 0 cost for 0 days. That's what that point does represent, because this point here, 0, 0, that represents 0 days and 0 cost. The first number represents whatever's on the horizontal axis, so this number of days, and the second number represents the vertical, or the cost in dollars. So yeah, that point 0, 0 means that there's no cost for no days of rental. And that makes sense. If you don't rent a truck for any days at all, it's not going to cost you any money. All right, 1,75 represents 75 days of truck rental costing $1. Let's take a look at that. So 1,75, that means that my first number here is 1, my second number is 75. That's that point right there. 1,75. My first number goes with the number of days. So 1 day, no, it says $1. Ooh, and 75 days. Well, that would be something way over here. 75 days is way over there for $1. And that doesn't make sense logically anyways. Who's going to rent you a truck for 75 days for $1? But the 75, that second number, goes with my vertical axis, which was cost in dollars, not for the days of truck rental. All right, 6,450 represents 6 days of truck rental for a cost of $450. That first number has been going with the number of days because that was our horizontal number. And if you need to look at the graph, you can. 6 days goes with $450. Yeah, absolutely. 6 days for $450. That's true. All right, 152 is an ordered pair. That 150, 2. Cost of $150 for 2 days of truck rental. Well, there's a 0.2 150, but 150 being my first number is going to be way the heck over there, because look, that's only 9. tend to be there. I have to do 15 times as far. It's going to be in my junk piles over there that you don't need to see. So that number of days, that first number is going to be the number of days. 150 days. It says it's $150. No. If you want to represent $150 for 2 days, you're going to have to go 2, 150. That would be 2 days for $150. So they've got their numbers backwards. That point would represent 150 days for $2. Thank goodness that is not on there. I mean, that's the same kind of thing as what it says here, 75 days for a cost of $1. And, yeah. Nope. So yeah, I didn't even need the table. Oh, I guess you could look at the... Nah, these numbers aren't in the table. Nope, the numbers aren't in the table. Okay. Oh, this is about trucks and trailers too. Let's see what this one wants to know. The trailer rental cost table. This one references the table instead of the truck cost. All right. In the trailer rental cost table, there's a missing number of days, D, and a missing number for a rental cost, R. What's the value of D and what's the value of R in the table? Okay. Well, let's see. Is it safe to assume that this is going to be proportional? If I'm renting something, most of the time, they give you a rate per day. So let's see what the rate per day is. $45 divided by 2 is 22.5. Let's check and see if I get the same rate from this pair, because this pair they give you both numbers. 112.5 divided by 5 is 22.5. So whatever number's here, take the number over here, multiply by 5 if you're going that way. And divide by 5 if you're going, well, not by 5, that's not right. Oh, I said the wrong thing. It's not times 5, it's times 22.5. I'm going from this number to that number. So, hey, that's an easy thing to do. We can multiply by 22.5. That's easy. All right, 7 times 22.5. 7 times 22.5 is 157.5. Yikes. Numbers get big when you multiply them, huh? So R is 157.5. We can go on down and find that in part B, 157.5. Cool. All right, part A wants to know about the number D. Well, I have to take some number times 22.5 and get 6750. So if I'm going to the left, if I know what I'm multiplying by to go right, I can always divide by that to go left. So if I'm going that way, I'm going to divide 67.5 divided by 22.5. And that looks like it's about one more 22.5 chunk compared to the 45, so I'm guessing a D is going to be 3, but let's double check. 67.5 divided by 22.5 is 3. That 3 must be what that D stands for. And you always check 3 times 22.5. Should work out for you. All right. And look, 64 also refers to trucks and trailers. What is the constant of proportionality for the trailer rental cost per day? And that's the trailer rental cost right here. How do you find the constant proportionality? You take your right column, divide it by your left column. This number that I multiply by every time, that's your constant proportionality. It's already right there, 2250 per day. That makes sense. What if it had asked you about the constant proportionality on the first thing, on the graph? Well, you look at the number 1, and whatever that crosses at, which was 75, that's your constant proportionality. 1 times 75 is 75. 2 times 75 is 150. 3 times 75 is 225, etc., etc., etc. 6 times 75 is 450. Yep. So that's another way to find a constant proportionality, which is also called, like, if I were to be using it to scale something, it could be called a scale factor. if I multiply every side length by 5, then 5 is my constant proportionality, or my scale factor. Anyways, I hope this helps you all a little bit. Miss you guys, and I hope to see you soon.